Okay, we're going to get started, guys. Thank you so much for joining our live chat. You are here with financial aid, and basically what we want to do is give the new class of fall 2016 an opportunity to meet the team remotely and virtually, ask questions, be able to interact with us, and have the opportunity to get engaged and plugged in with some questions that you may not have gotten answered yet. So we're going to kick it off with introductions, and I'm going to look to my right.
All right, hi, my name is Sophie Farrell. I am a senior here at Santa Fe University of Art and Design. I'm a creative writing major, and I'm also a financial aid work study employee slash student. I am so excited to be here today to assist in possibly clearing up some questions you may have about the financial aid process in general, and I believe that's it.
How you doing? My name is Julian Oliver. I'm one of the financial aid counselors with Santa Fe University of Arts and Design. I've got about 4 years of experience. I'm always in Mouton Hall, ready to help you. Just go ahead and come through, give me a call.
Okay, my name is Celeste. I'm the Director of Financial Aid. Last name's Franklin. If you ever have any VA questions, any student escalations, or any type of off-campus questions, you would want to direct them to me specifically. Otherwise, you could work with Julian or Miss Anita, and I'll let Anita introduce herself to you.
Hi, I'm Anita Kime. I have about 12 years of experience in the financial aid, and I too am working with Julian in Mouton Hall, ready to help anytime you want to come in or call.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Solo, and I'm also a creative writing major here at Santa Fe University of Art and Design. I think we're ready to move on to our first question. How long does it take to get awarded after completing the FAFSA?
Generally, it takes about a week for you to be awarded after completing the FAFSA. We generally have to go over your scholarship review just to make sure that we've got a clear view of everything that you're going to be eligible for.
Does anyone want to add anything to that?
Normally with the FAFSA, even after you've completed it, we just need to make sure that if you're marked for verification, that we have any additional documents needed to complete that verification, which might take a little time to get you packaged. That's why we will also say a week to give you time to get that information into us to get a full package completed for you.
Okay, we have another question.
All right, how do I accept my student loans?
To accept your loans, you go onto your student portal and to the student services site, and then you'll go to your awards and to the My Fine Aid page, and like the third tab from the left, I believe it is your accept awards tab, and you will click on there and you can accept or decline any awards that you choose.
Now, every now and again, we have someone that doesn't have access to their computer. So if you aren't able to actually accept your aid and you want to, you can always swing by the office, which is located in Mouton, and basically work with any of these financial counselors and say you're willing to accept the aid and we can accept on your behalf. But we do have to get that confirmation from you.
Looks like we have another question coming in. Why does my award letter look different from my cost estimator?
Okay, so we get this question a lot, and the answer is kind of complicated, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. The financial aid team is required to work within federal guidelines, and so your award letter is based on your cost of attendance, which is budgeted according to the Title IV you receive. These are costs that are basically indirect. Your transportation, for example, will be built into your award letter, but we're not actually going to give you money to have transportation. Books and supplies are budgeted within that, but it's not an actual figure. Whereas your cost estimate has direct charges. So if you elect for a single apartment or you have a triple dorm room, that's a direct charge, and you'll see a direct number for that. It's not estimated, it's not budgeted, that's an actual amount. And so if you're looking at your cost estimator that has direct charges, you'll have different numbers than what you'll see if you look at your actual award letter that just has budgeted figures.
All right, and the next question is, I have a family member that was in the military. Can they use any VA benefits at SFUAD?
Yes. The first thing that we always want to encourage is if you know that you have any family members that might have VA benefits or you might be the veteran yourself, is to come into the office and have a cost conversation. Ultimately, what we'll need is a certificate of eligibility. If you don't know how to go about attaining that, either one of the financial counselors can tell you how to go into the Vaughn app and basically get that document. Once we have that, we'll know exactly what your benefits look like, and we'll be able to have a cost conversation with you regarding the specific dollar amount that you receive and how we would get those funds on your account.
We've got another question coming in. What scholarships does SFUAD offer? How can I apply for them?
SFUAD offers a number of additional scholarships. We have plenty of outside scholarships also. One of the things that you can do is make sure that you keep up with your emails. They're sent out generally on a weekly or so basis, just to give you some extra options to look into.
And then also, every student that is accepted to the university is reviewed for scholarship opportunities at the time. And so we try to make sure that we give you institutional aid that gives you the best scholarship picture. And if you do look for outside resources, which Julian is actually on the scholarship team that sends out those weekly emails, so please be on the lookout for that. You can get additional money outside of the school. So we definitely try to encourage that, as it's a good resource for students.
I'm saying the application process varies depending on the scholarships that you choose to go for. Like the institutional scholarships are based on your application for enrollment and your portfolio and such that you would turn in. Whereas outside applications, you might have to do a variety of different things before you submit that. But each scholarship application is different, so you just need to pay attention to those applications and what they're asking for.
Awesome. Next question. My out-of-pocket is still very high. What other funding is available to help me pay for school?
Well, the Parent Plus loan is one of our primary options that the majority of our students use to help pay for school. It does require a parent to take a credit check, but it's definitely one of our primary options.
An additional option would be an alternative loan where it's taken out in the student's name, and we have if you go to our website, to the santafeuniversity.edu website, and go to the financial aid page, there's a section in the green that says private financial fund, or private financial aid, I believe. I'm sorry, private
educational loans.
It's, yes, sorry about that. Private educational loans. You can click on that, and it'll take you to your options for private alternative loans, where the application is right there, and it already has our school information attached to it.
And again, don't forget about those outside scholarships. We also like to encourage that. Every now and again we have someone that their church is willing to help them out, or we have some natives that get tribal benefits. So we do participate with basically any outside resource. As long as there's unmet need, we will try to package you to the best of our ability. There's another question.
Excellent. Someone's asking, who has access to my financial information?
So essentially, your information is private, and the only way that anyone outside of you and the financial experts that are dealing with your account would be able to see anything is through a FERPA. So who wants to talk about FERPA?
FERPA is a authorization to release information to anyone that you choose. So like if a parent wants to receive information, you'll need to complete one of these authorizations to release the information and put the person that you want us to release the information to's information on there. There's a lot of information. Put it on the form and then submit that into us, and then we are then able to release that information to that specific person.
Right, so we would have to have a FERPA on file, which is a form that you would complete as a student, and that would basically allow us to know who we could share your financial aid information with. And if we don't have that, unfortunately, even if mom and dad call, we aren't going to be able to go into any specific details regarding your account.
All right. My enrollment advisor sent me an award letter. Is that final, or can I get additional aid?
You'll always be eligible for additional aid if you look at outside scholarships and things of that nature. But generally, the awards letter is going to be fairly close to final.
Right, and so unless the situation changes and there's a need to review your account again, typically once everything's in, all your documents are submitted, once we review, that's pretty much what it looks like unless there's a change in the household situation.
Next question is, you mentioned a PLUS loan. How can my parents or I apply for that?
For the parents to apply for the PLUS loan, you would go to studentloans.gov and you'll log in with the parent's FSA ID. And it's imperative that you log in with that parental information. Otherwise, if the student attempts to log in for that PLUS application, it will not be able to process. It may process, we just won't be able to process the loan because it has to be a parent that applies for that PLUS loan. And then, like Julian said earlier, you will do a credit check and you'll be notified immediately whether it is approved or denied. And then once you submit that application, we'll receive it normally the next business day, and it'll send you out a new award letter showing where that has either been added or the additional loan has been added that would be awarded for a denial.
I've done my FAFSA, but it is asking me for additional documents. What are these documents for?
So Anita had talked about a process called verification. Not quite sure what document the student's referring to, but there's a couple of things that would be required in order to get through the entire financial aid process. Verification is one of those things. Basically, students are randomly selected. If they do a FAFSA application with the government, they are occasionally asked to do verification, which is additional documentation to make sure that what they did on their application indeed matches, so they are verified. That's one of the things that the financial aid team might ask for. In addition to that, we talked about loans a couple of times. If you do choose to take out a loan, simply accepting your award letter isn't enough. You would have to actually complete a master promissory note and entrance counseling. Your master promissory note, which is also commonly known as your MPN, is your promise to commit to all the things that are required in order for you to borrow the loan, which basically means that you understand it's a loan, it's not free money, and you would have to commit to repaying it once you either graduate or stop coming to school. Your entrance counseling really educates you on the loan, your interest rates. It goes over basically what you would need to do as a borrower. So if you don't complete your verification or your master promissory note and entrance counseling, you will not get through the entire process. So it's really important that those additional documents that are asked for are collected correctly and they are actually submitted timely, so that way you can get everything squared away.
Someone wants to know, my friend has the same financial situation as me, but received more money. Why is that? Can I apply for another grant?
Normally in this situation, and this is something that we get asked quite a bit, every situation is different regardless of what you see on an EFC. Depending on the application when it's submitted, we have some grants that are available on a first come first served basis. So if it was your application, your friend's application was submitted before yours, then that's most likely what happened. But again, there's additional information on the FAFSA that has to be determined what you're eligible for and what you're not eligible for. So unfortunately it's not a clear picture, so you would need to come in for us to actually look at your specific situation.
Right. In addition to grants, Federal Work Study is also first come, first serve. And so it's possible that your friend had an opportunity to get an on-campus job because they completed the FAFSA sooner than you did, and by the time you got awarded, perhaps that fund wasn't available to you. So it is imperative to try to get everything in as soon as possible to get the best award package for you. But there are a couple of things that, are first come, first serve.
All right. Do I have to do my FAFSA every year? How do I do that?
You are required to do your FAFSA each and every year that you're going to attend. A general good policy is to try and do your FAFSA about when you do your taxes every year, just to make sure everything is up to date. To do that, we generally have you go to FAFSA.gov, and you'll be able to complete it on there. You'll be able to complete it online there.
And then one thing to add, international students that do not participate in financial aid are not required to do the FAFSA. So if you are not planning on borrowing any money, you can always do a FAFSA waiver. But if you know that you are interested in financial aid, you always want to do that application each and every year. And again, the sooner the better.
What do I do if my parents aren't U.S. citizens? Can we get aid?
I'm good.
Yes. If the dependent is a U.S. citizen, the student is eligible for aid. However, dependent students do require mom and dad. So if they are not U.S. citizens, essentially what's going to happen is that You're going to have to work with the team closely, especially regarding the plus, because they're not going to be able to take out that loan option. But as Anita had mentioned, we do have alternative loans that the student would be able to borrow if their parents aren't U.S. citizens and can't take out the plus loan. But again, absolutely, the student is allowed to borrow money. They're allowed to go through the process just like anyone else. The only difference would really be when it comes to the parental information, specifically the plus loan option.
Next question is there a deadline to apply for aid? If so, what is it?
I mean, there essentially is a deadline. Everything needs to be buttoned up on your account prior to the start. I mean, that's our ultimate goal. If there is a situation where we're not able to get resolution done before you start, we just need to get it done as soon as possible. What we run into is if we do not get it resolved before the end of the semester is that you've completed that semester, we've not received your information or not gotten it, all buttoned up, then you're not eligible to receive the funds that we have allegedly told you that you would be eligible for. And so it's imperative that we get the things done as soon as possible so you're clear and good to go.
Someone's asking, I'm concerned about books and supplies. Do you have budget-friendly recommendations?
Well, there are a couple different options for you to choose with worrying about your books. One site that I can really recommend is chegg.com, C-H-E-G-G, and they do rental books, and those are very affordable for almost any situation. There's also a couple options for students on campus to sell books to one another after they've used them, so there are plenty of options for you to look into. Well.
Yeah, and then also when it comes to, budget-friendly things, I was talking about cost estimates earlier where you have different meal plan options, you have different dorm room options. Looking into your situation to determine the best fit for you is another way for you to potentially save money. If you're willing to have additional roommates and go into a triple versus a double, that's a way for you to save money. If you're able to go into 15 meals a week instead of 19, that's another way for you to save money. So there's a lot of clever things that you can do here and there that would allow you the opportunity to have money left over for books, supplies, so on and so forth. Just you always want to come into the financial aid office and talk to the counselor about that.
Right. How do I set up a payment plan for my balance, and are there any fees for this feature?
We do have a couple of different payment plan options. If you would like to set up a payment plan prior to the start, we recommend going through our third-party company, and they do charge a one-time application fee per year for the payment plan. Your options for the fall semester are a 12-month payment plan for the entire year for your total out-of-pocket cost, or 4 monthly payments. If for whatever reason you were to look into the payment plan after they have made their offer, we still are able to in-house do a payment plan for you, but we just have the in-house payment plan has to be paid off before the end of the year or before the end of each semester. But those are options available to you, so feel free to contact us in financial aid or the financial services department to set those payment plans up.
Yeah, we can facilitate, but you would really want to reach out to the actual appropriate party to handle those payments, since they're going to be able to advise you through all the options, walk you through the process, since we don't technically own that, but we would certainly help you and connect you to the appropriate party who does.
How do I know if I'll get a refund and if I'm eligible for one? When should I expect my check?
All right. Generally, if you're eligible for a refund, they'll generally come between 2 and 3 weeks after that. But you'll be informed by the student accounts department if you're going to be receiving a refund.
You should definitely know if you're going to get a refund. Most students, for the most part, typically have a little bit of a balance. But if you are the fortunate few that do get a refund, it takes usually about 14 days for us to release that money to the student, which is, again, within 2 to 3 weeks. But typically, you would know that in advance. It's usually not something that's surprises students. So once you have the cost conversation, you work with your financial aid counselor, you will know if you are, the fortunate one that gets a refund check, or if you have to actually make payments through the third party that Anita was referring to.
And as far as the refund goes, since most of you that are listening or on here now are incoming students, we won't actually receive your financial funds on your account until you've been in class for approximately 30 days. So when they're talking about 2 to 3 weeks after that, they're talking about 2 to 3 weeks after we receive your funds, then when you will receive the refund.
That's a good call out. First-time students, first-time borrowers are delayed. And so if you are in that bucket and this is your first time ever going to college, you will not be able to draw down those funds any sooner than 30 days after start. So in that case, it wouldn't be 2 weeks into the term, it would be several weeks into the term. But once that credit is posted, we will cut that check within 14 days. It is going to be a check. We don't do anything that's gonna, well, you can have direct deposit options, but we wouldn't be able to give you other options like cash or anything in hand. So outside of a check or direct deposit, those are really the best ways to get that refund if you are indeed going to receive one.
Next question is, what is required of me to get federal work study? How should I go about getting a job once I've been packaged with work study? How am I paid if I get a work study job?
Okay, who wants to take that one?
Well, to be eligible for federal work study, you would have to have unmet need on your student account, on your financial aid packaging. So one of the ways that you would know you'd have an unmet need would be to come into the financial aid department and just ask either me or Anita. We'd be happy to let you know if you're eligible for that. To actually receive a job, you would have to go to the work study job fair that we're going to be having this September, and you'd be able to apply for a position.
As far as also being eligible for the federal work study, you will need to indicate on the FAFSA if you are interested in federal work study. If you indicate no, unfortunately, we would not be able to award you that federal work study funds. You would have to go back into your FAFSA to make that correction if it is something that you're interested in to be eligible, and as long as you have unmet need on your packaging.
But then again, I do want to remind you guys, we said it's first come, first serve. So even if you added it on the FAFSA, you have the unmet need. If the campus doesn't have any dollars left to award, it's still possible that you wouldn't be able to get it. We've had students that were fall, freshmen that were able to eventually get it in the spring semester. So always be on the lookout, follow up the financial aid team, and make sure that the allocation isn't still tied up, because if we have a couple dollars that we could award you, we will repackage you at that time. So be encouraged, just make sure that you do diligence to get that if that's something you're interested in.
What is SFUAD's satisfactory academic progress? Why is this important for my financial aid?
The SFUAD Satisfactory Academic Progress requires you to complete each semester with a 2.0 GPA or above, have an overall GPA of a 2.0 or above, and complete at least 67% of all of the courses that you start. If you fail to do one of those in a semester, at the end of that semester, you will be placed on financial aid warning. And so what that means at that time is we're giving you a warning to let you know you have one additional semester to bring either your GPA up or your completion rate up to the expectation of the 2.0 or higher, or 67%. If you do not achieve those goals in that warning semester, the next semester you would be ineligible for financial aid. You would be placed on financial aid suspension. That's it. Mm-hmm. And meaning you're no longer eligible to receive the financial aid. And so with that, you do have different options as well. You can, if you feel that you have special circumstances that deterred you from meeting your goal, you can do an appeal process to be looked at for a probation period. So it's very imperative that you do meet the satisfactory academic progress each semester. And if you have questions about where you're at during the middle of the semester, I would suggest you seeing your academic advisor as well as financial aid.
Right, and that's a good point. The academics team has a different satisfactory academic progress than the financial aid team. So it's possible that you would be in financial aid warning or suspension with us and have a different status with academics. So keep in mind that you really want to have a conversation with both parties because there's different ramifications on both sides. Ultimately, we've talked about completion rate a couple of times, but I want to make sure that all parties understand what that means. Right now, if you enroll in 12 credit hours and you only complete 6, that means your completion percentage is 50%. As Anita has already pointed out, the benchmark is really like 67%, so that would automatically be an issue. So you want to make sure that if you are in class, that you actually complete the courses that you signed up with, and that you keep that GPA above a 2.0, because again, there are consequences for that. And it will impact your eligibility and your status here at Santa Fe University. So keep that in mind.
Next question is, what happens if I change my major?
Ooh, so that's a good question. We have two different price points. Certain programs fall into one category and certain programs fall into another. So if you move from like theater, for example, you would have theater packaging with scholarships and everything for that theater program. And if you move from theater to like creative writing, we would have to review you for different scholarships. We'd have to make sure that you would get the creative writing scholarship deal, and that would put you in a different price point. So it's really important that you understand the consequences of that, because your scholarships would be different and your price point might be different depending on which program you choose. So you always want to make sure that it's a good fit, that you're moving into a different program for the right reasons, and that you're comfortable with the financial ramifications of doing that. So please, please, please work with us and let us know and have that conversation so that you're prepared.
If I decide to add or drop a class, how will that affect my financial aid and or out-of-pocket cost?
Adding or dropping classes really depends upon exactly what situation you're in. So if you're dropping below 12 credits, then it has a potential chance to reduce the amount of financial aid you're eligible for the year. But if you're somewhere above 12 credits, generally everything will stay about the same.
And keep in mind that 12 credits is usually the magic number because that's the minimum for a full-time status student. But if you do an overload and take a lot of classes, you have potential to go into additional charges as well. So be mindful of when you overload, and then be mindful of when you are no longer full-time status, because these have the opportunity to impact your aid as well as your charges. So please be aware of the billing ramifications of your choices as well.
How do I find out my federal loan servicer is, and how should I plan for repayment?
To find out who your loan servicer is, well, first off, anytime that any payment has been processed on the loan, as far as payment received at the school, you should receive a letter from your loan servicer, one notifying you who they are and their contact information. If, however, you do not have that information, you can log into its NSLDS. It stands for National Student Loan Data System. You can log into that anytime, even while you're in school, after school. It'll give you information regarding all of your loans, who your loan servicers are, and their direct contact information. And as far as the question about how to plan for your repayment, if you go to the studentloans.gov website, there's a repayment calculator on there. So you can put in your information, specific information, your loan amounts. You can even do a guesstimation as to what you're planning on making or earning when you're done with school, and figure out what is going to be the best payment plan for you. But I encourage everybody to stay in contact with their loan servicers for any, something, life circumstances happen and something happens. Make sure that you stay in contact with your loan servicers, because they're definitely more willing to help you out if you stay in contact with them versus you going into default, which default means no longer making payments on your loan, and then trying to get help. So make sure that you stay in contact with them in advance.
What is transfer monitoring?
Okay. Students that have attended other institutions will show up if they've borrowed money on the transfer monitoring list. So the National Student Loan Data System that Anita was referring to is what we review for your financial aid. And if you've bounced around for multiple schools, it's possible that you may have already borrowed your allocation for the year at another institution. So we want to make sure that the award letter that you get is the award letter that you keep. So we do monitor the status just to make sure that you haven't used dollars within the award period at another institution, so that you can indeed keep them. In the event that you were awarded dollars that you cannot have, that you will be flagged on this transfer monitoring report, and we will have to revise your award letter. So it's really important that you take a look at your award letter, making sure that you review it with your counselor to confirm your eligibility, and check in with us. If we email you, reach out to you, or give you a call, it's because we have an important update for you. So if you are in one of those buckets where you do get flagged as a transfer monitoring student, then we want to let you know this. That way we can talk about your options.
What happens if I'm in college over 4 years? Will my financial aid last 5 or 6 years?
Your financial aid would be eligible to help you out for up to about 6 years. At that point, you'd reach the 150% mark. At 150%, you would lose almost all of your eligibility. So, what you want to do is at that point, you pretty much be on your own.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, 6 years is usually what it would be if you're full-time. So if you are consistent with your enrollment and you're full-time, then your aid will typically last about 6 years. You are limited on how much Pell you can borrow. You have certain limits as far as your undergraduate level for loans. So it's really important that you pay attention to your academic plan, that you go through your degree completion, so that way at the end of these years, you have something to show for it. If you don't, you do possibly run out of money, which is called an aggregate loan limit. And if you exceed your aggregate limits, then you have to look at other options because you will eventually run out of financial aid. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I think that was the last one.
Okay, so thank you guys for joining us. Ultimately, we want to be available for you. If you have specific questions that were not answered, definitely reach out to the team. I'll allow them to give their own contact information for you.
You can reach me at anita.keim, and it's KEIM, at santafeuniversity.edu, or my direct line is 505-473-6638.
You can reach me at Julian Oliver. It's JULIAN.OLIVER at santafeuniversity.edu. And you can reach me direct line at 505-473-6678.
And if you need to talk to the director, my name is Celeste Franklin. My phone number is 505-473-6318. And my email is Celeste, CELESTE, .Franklin, FRANKLIN, at santafeuniversity.edu. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your live chat, and we wish you well.